The last major banner before book 7 is a fun one. Once again, we have a legendary mythic combo deal, and there is a lot of enticing reasons to summon. We'll talk about our 2 new heroes and discuss the 10 other units on the banner. It's been 6 years, well, almost 6 full years of Fate, and we are finally getting a Veronica based off the events in the main story. If you haven't seen it yet, the book 6 ending movie is now out, and miraculously featured Serena having a nice little tea party with Veronica, still in her new attire. Not a lot of foreshadowing like in past years, but basically it sounds like Askr and Embla are now allies officially. Maybe book 7 will finally pit our ragtag crew against the mythical plans of Thor, Loki, and their Allfather. Perhaps signaling that Legendary Veronica's new getup is here to stay is that there is an official Good Smile figure coming out. Looks very cool, and I wouldn't mind if this attire becomes the new default in game. I'm still holding out hope that our Askr trio can get a similar power upgrade, but with Lord Askr gone, I don't know anymore. Anyway, this is about Veronica's time to shine, and her legendary ult is a red mage cavalier. She is a win to pair up legendary that boosts speed. We do have data mine enemy stats for Veronica since she was in game already. These aren't final, but we have the same for Embla, which matches the one seen in her trailer, so I think Veronica should be very close. 38 HP, 42 attack, 45 speed, 19 defense, and 25 res. Very typical offensive mage cavalier stat spread, and I believe Veronica will be our first Gen 7 mage cav. For old skills, she's going to come with attack and speed catch 4 and speed and res far trace 3. As expected, full glass cannon offensive setup. Kanto is always nice to have. Veronica's enclosing Dark Tome hasn't changed since we last saw it. 14 might accelerate specials, and it basically comes with desperation at any HP. If Veronica initiates combat or is not adjacent to an ally, she gets plus 6 attack and speed, offense and a follow-up, and the more effects based on the number of foes within 2 spaces of her target, not including the target itself though. If there is one nearby foe, inflict minus 4 speed and res. If there are 2 or more nearby foes, inflict minus 8 speed and res, and the foe cannot counterattack back. Yeesh. This weapon fits Veronica's stat spread very well. It works on either phase, but he has no defensive perks really. Legendary Veronica is very much a player phase attacker. Big thing to note is that Veronica has 2 ways to hit twice in a row. First, against grouped up teams, she gains fire sweep, and with offense and a follow-up, if she outspeeds, she just 2-taps very safely. Against more lonely foes, she still has desperation, and again, thanks to no follow-up, if Veronica outspeeds, you just double immediately. Combined with plus 6 attack and speed with more speed and res debuffs and the catch and far trace combo, you have a ton of firepower. What brings Veronica's kit together, however, is her unique special, Enclosure, 2 cooldown, boosts damage by 25% of her attack stat. This is a weaker draconic aura. However, when Enclosure triggers, it also neutralizes non-special percent damage reduction skills. That is fantastic since mages do not have a special that does that just yet. Last, Veronica's gonna get no guard just all the time. That is very important because with her weapon, Enclosure is a permanent 1 cooldown. Veronica has her ways to hit twice in a row, and with no guard active, hit number 1 primes Enclosure, then hit number 2 procs it. This is very strong, and the only way to stop it is to stop her follow-up attacks. Since it's recent, this method of activating Enclosure bypasses Brave and Ascended Tiki's anti-pre-charge special mechanics. The plus 1 cooldown doesn't affect a 1 cooldown special when Veronica's hitting twice. This also counters some defensive special builds. First hit will still be reduced, but the second hit avoids the special, and Enclosure negates any other damage reduction effects. Even though Ascended Charm can deny Veronica the fire sweep effect, she doesn't stop her instant double. She can't block Enclosure with Deflect Magic either, so you gotta watch out. Last thing that Legendary Veronica brings is Panic Smoke 4, fitting introduction for the OG Panic Tome that we may never get. After combat, inflict minus 3 debuffs to all stats and the panic status on the target and foes within 2 spaces. Additionally, grant foe penalty doubler to unit and allies in cardinal directions. Okay, so Panic Smoke 4 still has AoE panic and attacks on debuffs as well. Regular debuffs stack with panicked buffs. You then get a new status called Foe Penalty Doubler, and we've seen this effect a lot already. Basically, you double any field buff for the stat it's on. So Panic Smoke inflicts minus 3 to all stats. In combat, you inflict another minus 3 for a total of minus 6 to all stats. You can boost this higher with bigger debuffs, and of course, stacking it with panicked field buffs. As a bonus, allies can also get the Foe Penalty Doubler status, but you're going to have to be in line with the user. For some uses, Dagr units already have that innate minus 7 defensive res debuffs, just better for penalty doubler. Like with bonus doubler stacking, you can also use penalty doubler weapons like pledging weapons or certain refines like Seiros. As with any depot stacking effects, dominance and blizzard type damage boosters are fun as well. Let's move on to our other new hero, Mythic Embla. She has some exciting things to discuss, and we will definitely draw some orbs from this holiday season. Embla is a red beast flying unit and a dark mythic that boosts resistance. That means both new heroes are in the red group this time. For stats, the data mine enemy stats and the trailer were the same: 41 HP, 43 attack, 44 speed, 31 defense, and 24 res. A little more sturdy than Veronica, but still an offensive unit for the most part. For old skills, we have Draconic Aura and Attack and Speed Clash 4 making a return. As a beast flyer, Embla gets that extra movement, so you get a little extra out of the skill. For her weapon, Enclosing Claw, it's a bit confusing and long. Let's try to break it down. 14 might, Excite Specials, and Beast Flyer Transformation bonus, which is the +1 movement. At start of combat, if Embla has more than 25% HP, she gets +5 to all stats, no guard, and then inflicts penalties to attack, speed, and defense on the foe in combat, equal to the number of foes within 3 columns or rows centered on Embla times 3, max of -9 to those stats. If there are 2 or more foes in that same range, then Embla also gets defense in the follow-up, and she inflicts guard on the foe. That's pretty good. So basically, lots of really solid perks on hand and lots of stat advantages the more enemies are within the 3 column or 3 row range. If you translate the debuffs into buffs, it's like Embla can amass +14 to all stats. You get no guard like Veronica for special spamming. However, Embla will need to tank a hit when doubling, and for that she has guard to prevent a special counterattack. Defense and no follow-up would then mess up slower units. All in all, good perks, but may not be fully active on super solo enemies. Might also be an issue in modes with less units overall, like basic 4v4 arena maps. If there are only 2 enemies on the map, you're not going to get those last 2 perks. They are the defensive effects though, which isn't the end of the world. Mythic Embla's unique C skill is Severance and is an actual game changer. At start of turn, inflict Undefended and feud statuses on foe within 3 columns or 3 rows, centered on Embla. Also, at start of turn, if there's a foe within 3 columns or 3 rows, neutralize any penalty on Embla and she gets the dodge status. We have 2 new statuses to discuss. Undefended is the main focus because this penalty negates Savior from being used on the target. Unless you're a masochist and you play a lot of summoner duels, this will be the first way to counter save skills that comes from a unit. More importantly, because Embla inflicts Undefended on her phase, there is no way to neutralize the status when Savior is active. Remember, when you neutralize penalties, you have to actively make a move. Save skills are the exact opposite of that. In addition to no Savior support, the feud status works like the C skills. The unit gets no outside abilities like in-combat buffs or powerful effects like damage reduction auras or cooldown reduction zones. If you want support buffs, they have to be statuses on the unit themselves. For example, Legendary Eliwood gives his ally these statuses for bonus doubler, Kanto, and no panic. What's really strong about Severance and the feud status is that everyone on Embla's team benefits from it and no one actually needs to run the feud C skills themselves. It also covers all color types like Bramimond C skill. This is only half of Severance though. For Embla herself, she cleanses herself of penalties and gains the dodge status. She actually has a lot of defensive effects, and with her stat boost, I think Emblem will be pretty decent all around. Regarding the excludes penalties inflicted at start of turn part, I think this means penalties inflicted at the same time Severance activates. I think the only instance this applies to is Gregor's new sword, which debuffs on either phase. That is not normal, but as power creep continues, I would not be surprised to see more of these things appear. Overall, very powerful C skill. I did state there is no way to neutralize Undefended when it's applied, but you can counter it with False Start to prevent Severance from even activating. Elamine is not a light mythic though, so in 8th raids, your other option is to not be in range of Embla. The defense setup should try to funnel enemies into Embla's range, but you could also run 2 Emblas. That would cover the whole map. Now while Severance is a hot topic, Embla brings a new inheritable beast skill called Beast Agility 3. It removes the condition to transform. Let's stop there. That is pretty wild because one drawback of beast units is that their unique abilities need them to transform. That is when they are most powerful. But if they are not with, or if they're with non-beast or dragon units, then you need to position correctly. Beast Agility gets rid of that annoyance. As for the other half of the skill, if unit outspeeds the foe, neutralize effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks during combat. If you have higher speed, you get offensive no fall. Very good effect for speedy units like Embla herself, and this is basically the replacement for float B skills since cavalry and beast flyers can use those. However, the speed check requirement means you can't really use this with slower units using free follow-up effects like Tabarn. It works against slow tanky enemies, but you can't abuse it into faster ones to prevent a follow-up like potential Arcane Downfall users. Do note, Beast Agility works on either phase, which is pretty good for Emblem. I also assume this thing will be usable by all Beast, but Infantry have no follow-up and Armaments have a ton of strong Beast skills. Not bad for Beast Counts or Flyers though, who didn't get offensive follow-up via their refines, and obviously the freedom to stand next to human allies is very nice. We have some crazy new units coming with Legendary Veronica, having what you want out of a Glass Cannon Mage Cav, and Mythic Embla bringing several new support debuff statuses. If you like using save strats in Light Aether Raid seasons, you may need to rethink things. That being said, you also have to rethink strategies that use multiple support buffers with one super tank. The feud status gets rid of all of those support effects. While the anti-savior capabilities are definitely a major plus, just in general Embla looks like a fun unit. She can transform with any team comp, she has lots of stat stacking effects with no guard and offensive follow-up for damage. For tanking, she has dodge, defensive follow-up, and guard. That's a lot of abilities, plus she cleanses penalties and challenges foes to 1v1s. I'm actually very impressed. As for Veronica, she will be pretty annoying as well. The only way to not get hit twice is to outspeed her, which is never a guarantee. Enclosure negates damage reduction skills, and even if she doesn't get the kill, the enemy might not be able to even fight back anyway. Fun times. Maybe Ninja Camilla had the right idea. Time to bust out the Vantage strats. Moving on to the other units on the banner, joining Emblem and Veronica in red is Legendary Nanna. Blue has Seiros plus Legendary Deirdre and Caeda. Green has Dagr, Hel, and Ymir. Then in Colorless is Bramimond, Legendary Micaiah, and Ascended Celica. We'll be going through every unit briefly. For the third banner in a row, the red group is incredible. This time though, it's because Embla and Veronica are both in it. We discussed each of them already, so let's talk some skill fodder. Embla has two very new skills. Time Speed Clash 4 is a newish stat booster for any non-armor melee unit that can move at least 2 spaces. That way you neutralize attack and speed penalties as well. Not really a big deal for Embla, who neutralizes penalties anyway. As for Beast Agility, that is only on Emblem for now. No telling when that will return, and opens Beast units up for more team comps that are easier to use. As for Veronica, she has two common offensive perks. Time Speed Catch 4 and Speed and Res Far Trace are staples for lots of builds. You then got the newcomer Panic Smoke 4. Unfortunately, not really easy ways to get Time Speed Catch 3 or Panic Smoke 3. You're going to need some rare units if you want to get multiple skills from here. Now, joining Embla and Veronica is Legendary Nanna, who has her own unique traits. Nanna is an offensive sword cav that is pretty similar to Veronica. She has Desperation with offense and no follow-up, and doesn't need a special to neutralize damage reduction skills. Lance Sword also completely stops defensive specials, so Nanna can be very good with all the damage reduction abilities out there. Instead of her unique special, her beast skill grants 20% attack true damage per hit, along with near trace Kanto, so very impressive stuff. She rounds out this red group nicely. For fodder, you can get a time speed push 4, which is okay. You can also grab a time speed menace at the same time. All in all, an extremely compelling red group to summon on, 2 strong offensive units, and Embla just brings all kinds of fun stuff with her. Moving on to the blue group, we start with Mythic Seiros, a blue infantry dragon and an animal mythic. Seiros is slow but bulky and can be a little offensive as well. When initiating, she's going to get a free follow-up attack, but when defending, she denies a follow-up attack instead. You got Mirror Impact for extra resistance and Dragon Wall for damage reduction. Wings of Light gives fellow mythic heroes bonus stats in combat that scales higher for 5 turns. It maxes out at +7 to all stats, but you only have 3 or less mythics on your team. If you're going to fodder Seiros, it's pretty easy to get Mirror Impact and Dragon Wall at the same time. Now joining Seiros is Legend Deirdre, a blue infantry mage. I believe this is her first rerun. Deirdre has some high attack and res, and her Atomic Sword specials is effective against dragons and even negates adaptive damage from them. She gets a free follow-up attack, inflicts -6 attack and res debuffs, and inflicts more attack and res debuffs the more res Deirdre has than the enemy at the start of combat. This can go up to -12 attack and res, and she has Stillwater for flat attack and resistance to help with that comparison. As for her Circlet of Balance special, it's on a 2 cooldown, and it's an Iceberg type special that also grants Miracle. But Deirdre must meet 2 conditions for that. First, the special must be ready or it must have triggered already. And second, Deirdre must be initiating or the enemy must be ranged. Thanks to attack and res tempo, Deirdre should charge Circuit of Balance in 1 action, which means it's pretty much easy to get Miracle active when initiating. Then to help with res checking, you have attack and res Menace. Stillwater and attack and res tempo are still pretty new, but Menace skills are always solid. Last up is Legendary Caeda, a lance flyer with pretty good attack and speed. Wing Lifted Spear gives Kanto 2 plus armor and cav effectiveness. Caeda then gets plus 5 to all stats, and she effectively steals enemy field bows. From her B skill, she gets Permavantage against armors and cavaliers, offensive no follow-up, and after combat, Caeda's going to get a Vantage status that works against anyone. If Caeda can avoid Legendary Veronica's fire soup effect, she can just Vantage cheese her very easily. She has Distant Storm for distant counter with extra attack, and then attack and defense rain for more debuffs. Caeda can be pretty strong if squishy cavaliers aren't careful. Personally, if I didn't get red orbs to summon on, I would definitely go for the blue group next. Now, moving on to the green group, we start with Mythic Dagr, a fast axe infantry unit, and a light mythic hero. Skin Foxy grants plus 5 to all stats and a sort of penalty doubler effect. Instead of doubling debuffs though, Dagr is going to gain bonus stats in combat corresponding to the debuff on the foe. However, most importantly, it grants her Pathfinder, letting Dagr ferry allies across her own tile for free. Very powerful and annoying ability. From Sun Twin Wing, Dagr inflicts -5 speed and defense, and she's going to get full no follow-up effects. For skills, she has attack speed push 4 and even Tempest if you want some more movement. Next up is Mythic Hel, who heard she was getting replaced. Hel is a flying axe unit and dark mythic hero. Hel's Reaper excites specials and negates fly effectiveness. She also gets a miracle effect and targets the foe's res stat if the foe is not a major healer. Always annoying to deal with. From her C skill, Hel basically gets an Omni Rain debuff, -4 to all stats on foes within 2 spaces. For skills, Hel has good old distant counter and guard bearing. Quick Repulse 4 may be better now if you want some damage reduction for multiple fights. Last up, our latest addition is Ymir, a green cavalry dragon. Every Living Breath has a 10 HP AoE heal if a rally or movement assist is used with Ymir. She also neutralizes penalties and those effects don't stack. For her own combat, she gets a follow-up attack and plus 5 to all stats. For every living domain, Ymir offers a Miracle Zone and plus 4 defense and rest to allies. However, the Miracle effect only kicks in when above 75% HP at the time of the hit. It's mainly to prevent pure one-shot KOs, but still it's very annoying of course. To go at her kit, Ymir then comes with Rally Up attack to trigger her weapon. She then has Attack and Res Unity plus Attack and Res Near Trace for concept. Last up, the Colorless group has 3 colorless mages. Mythic Bramimond is up first and is a dark mythic hero. He's not that fast and does focus on attack mostly. Void Tome grants plus 5 attack, defense, and res if the foe has more than 50 attack or an active penalty. If they have more than 35 speed or an active penalty, then Bramimond gets a free follow-up attack. His C skill, Impenetrable Dark, is basically what Embla's new Severance skill inflicts as the feud status. No support skills are active for the target. For skills, Bramimond has attack and defense push 4 and low attack and res 3. You can grab both at the same time pretty easily. Next up is Legendary Micaiah, built similarly to Bramimond. She has her classic armor and cav effectiveness, plus you can get plus 6 attack and res with a free follow-up attack. She also has Desperation 2, which is a bit disappointing when units like Veronica just have Desperation always active. To get to that 50% HP threshold, you got Prescience, which inflicts -5 attack and res with 30% DR for 1 hit. Micaiah also has Maiden Solace to heal allies with her own HP. Technically, you can also use Fury 4 for recoil damage, and then to support the team, you got Joint Distant Guard. You can fire both of those with some easy prereqs. Last up for today is Ascended Celica. Unlike the other two, she is quite fast. Mila's Testament exercises specials with no guard, grants plus 6 attack and speed, and deals true damage on hit equal to 10% of the foe's attack stat. Celica also gets a miracle effect similar to Ymir, but with a more generous 25% HP threshold. If she does get low, however, Zofia has full no follow-up effects and Desperation 3. Celica has Life and Death 4, which isn't really necessary here, but it offers consistent stats at least. She then has Infantry no follow-up in the C slot, which gives infantry allies the no follow-up status. We have the Sacred Seal now, but this is still a potent way to get access to some very strong no follow-up effects. Generally speaking, while we have some nice colorless mages available, I would say this is probably the weakest color group to summon on. Not a lot of crazy newer skills on hand either. To wrap things up, maybe not the craziest banner overall, but with the both new heroes in red with a solid 3rd edition, that's a very enticing chase. Embla's C skill is going to be very intriguing because Caeda skills have been all over since release, and Hardy Fighter only made things worse. Severance completely messes up a lot of things, and then you got Veronica and Nanna, who both can handle damage reduction effects while being long-range cavaliers. Personally, I'm surprised they released a counter to save skills right before the probable Armored Winter banner. Undefended is going to be quite powerful, but I just have that feeling something else is going to answer it sooner rather than later. Maybe we'll get more false start effects or something. Anyway, that'll be it for this video. Book 6 is going out in style, and expect the Fae channel to accompany the Book 7 introduction within the next week. Good luck on your summons if you still have orbs left, and see you in the next video.